Hello and welcome to Film versus Movie. This is a podcast where we debate the cinema you hate. I'm your co-host Belton DeLaine-Facey,
And I'm Chris Shurr.
and on this podcast we watch a movie that has been lambasted, slandered, chewed up, and spit out as a hairball by public opinion.
And this week we're talking about Cats.
Yes, this is the 2019 film based on the Broadway show of the same name. The show was composed by Andrew Lloyd Webber, and it was based on a series of poems by T.S. Eliot from 1939.
The plot of Cats, it's barely existent. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but the general structure is that there's a ball called the Jellicle Ball, and every year the cats get together for the Jellicle Ball and they sing and dance their song that represents them as a cat. And if they win, they end up going to the heaven side lair. And you're giving me a look, Bellin.
It's fine. No, I wouldn't say it's like, yeah, it's light on plot. I feel like it's one of those movies where it doesn't need a lot of plot, but because it has the story.
I'm not 100%. What's the story?
Well, I mean, we can get to that, but it's like it's about like acceptance, but with some quick background on the movie. So it was based on the Broadway show, which is the fourth longest running show in Broadway history, and it was originally planned to be an animated film in the 90s. And they were working on that with an animation division at Amblin Entertainment, which is run by Steven Spielberg, but the animation division shut down, so that project died with it, and then went further into development. And in 2016, they brought on Tom Hopper to direct. He previously directed The King's Speech and the film adaptation of Les Mis, so this was clearly very much expected to contend in award season.
Yeah, that didn't really work out.
I mean, I'm sure there's like an alternate universe where things worked out better, but
I don't know. I feel like across the multiverse, this film was bad. It just wasn't good.
So I mean, during production, like a lot of people commented about the VFX for this. So originally they were debating whether or not to go with VFX or to just use prosthetics and makeup, but apparently they decided the prosthetics and makeup would be too difficult to have the actors dancing around, which does make me curious what prosthetics they were using when this is the fourth longest running Broadway show and that's what they used.
Yeah, they literally just could have gone to the same costume designers for one of the iterations of the play and just been like, hey, how do we make this comfortable? Because you're doing 2 of these a night.
Yeah. I mean, it also makes me wonder, because I mean, with theater there is an inherently higher suspense of disbelief because everyone's aware they're watching a show on a stage. So I'm wondering if they wanted the prosthetics to be more realistic than what the show uses.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I don't know. I was looking back and the costumes they had were awesome. Like, they're truly amazing. You had like leotards and amazing furs and different colorings, and it looked perfect for a musical. And the FX was kind of like, I don't know why they made that decision.
Yeah, I mean, this might have also been around same time where there's like that slight trend where a lot of movie studios with anything VFX, they're like, this has to be realistic. I mean, you kind of saw that with the Lion King and the first draft of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Did that Detective Pikachu, did that get the treatment too?
No, no, because in Detective Pikachu, they all look like the Pokemon everyone remembers, just more 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of Sonic the Hedgehog, the same VFX company that did the rework for the Sonic design also worked on this film, and that was happening at the same time, which that must have been very interesting water cooler talk. Like, like, could you imagine going to your coworkers like, "What are you working on?" "I just fixed Sonic's teeth." "What are you doing?" "I stared at a cat's butthole for 3 hours."
They're like, yeah, we were deciding butthole, no butthole. And they want no butthole. I kind of wish they had the buttholes.
I mean, so there is the alleged butthole cut, which like it's one of the rumors of this movie where I would not believe it if there weren't so many people saying it happened.
We want the butthole cut.
Yeah, oh my god, can you imagine how much like one of those film cells of the butthole cut goes for?
It's like the Snyder cut. It's just everybody wants it. We just need to demand it and we'll get it.
Yeah, like at this point, I don't think anyone expects the butthole cut to improve the original product. We're just like, I just want to see that exist.
I wish they had the butthole cut, but then it also came in at a runtime of like 3.5 hours. They're like, we cut a lot of, it wasn't just the buttholes themselves. There was a lot of the play that involved buttholes, and we just had to cut all of that once you cut out the buttholes. And I just want it to come together and make a lot more sense.
Yeah, like there was an entire plot line that revolved around the buttholes. It's like, well, we couldn't do that. It's like Taylor Swift actually had a lot more screen time.
She had like the 20-minute butthole song. You actually saw Taylor Swift's actual butthole, which costs a lot of money. That's actually where $150 million of the budget went, was just 30 seconds of Taylor Swift's butthole.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like she was just desperate for an Oscar, and so she did this. But yeah, it's like honestly, a lot. I'm not sure how many people remember at the time of release, but it's like there were so much about this movie. The news it just felt so ridiculous. It felt like people were just making up all sorts of rumors, and everyone was just running with them because it's like, well, this isn't any more ridiculous than reality.
Well, also, it's just like the play itself is a little ridiculous. So I feel like anything you say about it could kind of be true.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, the play, at least the Broadway version, has always gotten mixed reviews, and and like reading up on it, it really did feel it really sounds like a vehicle for like any actor with any talent to just show off what they have. Because there was one character who didn't sing but did a whole lot of ballet. There were like other sorts of dance. There were different variations of songs and speaking parts. So it really was like, I'm not sure how much this is true. I don't want to get lambasted by the theater community, but it did feel like if you got in Cats, it would be a great stepping stone to something else.
Oh, yeah, it's on Broadway. And it was also, I'm blanking on what's the Broadway version in London?
West End.
Yeah, it was a big West End play too. So yeah, it's a great vehicle. Also, Victoria was the ballet one, right?
Yes.
Because the actress who
Yeah.
played her wasn't so much of an actress as she mostly did ballet.
Yeah, yeah, she was mainly about a ballet performer. I believe this was her first film role.
Oh,
We-
really?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was either her first or second.
I wonder if she
Yeah.
got anything after. Because
I
it's
mean,
not really on her.
yeah, it isn't on her, but I mean, which is also why is sad that when the Razzies came out, they decided to nominate her for the film. Okay, so she does have like a few other film and TV credits, but they're all under ballet. So she is like first and foremost a ballet dancer who just happened to act for this movie.
Do you think she was like, maybe I do want to be in movies, and she was like super excited for the role, and then she gets into Cats and she's like, okay, this will come out, this will be great. I'm so excited to be an actor outside of just ballet. And then she just got ripped apart constantly after this movie, and she's like, fuck that, ballet's easier. I'd rather just rip my toenails off getting up on my toes than have to deal with the movie industry anymore.
I mean, I can see that because it is a hard transition that like not a lot of people are able to do between just pure dancing and then go into acting. I mean, there are rare cases like Jennifer Lopez, but she was also actively trying to like sing and act, and she didn't just stumble into that. I guess the only real example I could think of is Sophia Boutella because she started off as a dancer, then she got cast in Kingsman, and off a Nike commercial that I believe the director said.
Oh shit, that's a good deal.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like I'm not sure how much he was trying to act before, but it worked out for her.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and then some other rumors that came out about this movie around the time of release. Of course, the butthole cut. It was rumored to have a budget of $200 million, which would have meant it would have had to be the highest grossing Broadway adaptation of all time to break even.
Oh really?
Yeah, for reference, the highest grossing one as of now is Chicago, and that made 170.6 million.
Oh shit, I didn't realize. I thought that was like a relatively reasonable budget for a movie with that many A-listers in it.
I mean, it depends on the film. I think considering how much VFX and CGI they use, it probably would have been a better product if it had that budget. Not sure if it would have made its money back though.
Yeah.
Because again, like it's an adaptation of a Broadway show that had like I wouldn't say a small fan base, but not it isn't as widespread acclaim as other Broadway shows. But I know a lot of people who like the show really love it. And then another rumor that's just false is that they didn't use motion capture suits because the director thought that would mess with the actors' performances, which that's just a ridiculous one.
Wait, is that not true?
They did use motion capture suits,
Oh,
because
okay.
I mean, if they, because I mean, at this point, I don't think anyone working with VFX would turn that down for that sort of stuff. Because I mean, this is probably not the exact same, but similar technology to what's being used in stuff like Avatar and Marvel movies. So like I don't. So like I feel like any VFX supervisor that got on set and the director is like, we're not going to use mocap suits, they would just be like, I quit.
Well, did the director ever do heavy VFX movie?
No.
I don't know. Like you always hear bad decisions by directors and it's just like they override everyone. I could see this like getting to the very end and they're just like they just stick it out. They're like the motion capture suits are going to take away from everything. Even though they kind of mimic what a cat suit would do. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like there would have to be too many people to approve that because it would be like the director ignoring everyone on the VFX team. I'm pretty sure a decision like that, the producers get involved. The post team would have to get involved because that holds up how quick they can do the movie. And which by the way, the film was finished just hours before the premiere. So they really did not have time to waste.
Okay, I'm looking it up right now. I'm looking for behind the scenes shots, and yeah, they had VFX suits.
Okay. Was that the first one you found?
It's all of Rebel Wilson.
Oh my god,
James Corden. Oh no, here's oh wait, but they have who played the here's the actor, he was the old guy.
Oh, Ian McKellen.
Yeah, he's just dressed in, I'm pretty sure that's what he wore on the screen.
Oh yeah, well his character was covered in clothes, so it's not like they had to animate fur.
Oh
or
yeah.
anything. Yeah. Oh my god. Like Honestly, I feel like any on any movie set where the behind scenes pictures look like that, no one should get a Razzie for acting because they had to like act while looking at that.
Wait, but then here's Taylor Swift dancing with all her clothes on. But that might have
Yeah,
just been like doing
yeah, that looks like a rehearsal.
yeah.
Alright. Alright, anyway, let's see, and, like, the final rumor where I could not figure out if this was true or not, but they supposedly had to CGI out Jason Derulo's bulge.
I'm just I'm just gonna say it's true. I don't know. That seems like something that would be true about Jason Derulo.
That seems like something Jason Derulo would have his team put out. He has the power, and it's like I could see him just talking about his manager, and it's like his manager jokes about it, and he's just like, "Do it." Like we don't need confirmation that it happened. We just want people to think it happened.
Every actor should do that about movies. Like James Earl Jones should have just been like, "Yeah, it was really hard being in the suit for Star Wars because they had to CGI out my 10-foot long dick."
Yeah, I mean, I mean, like one person that does get to write about something like that. Apparently, Chris Hemsworth for his first fitting for Thor, he was too jacked to fit in the suit, so he had to lose muscle. So he gets to brag about that the rest of his life.
Oh, there's also Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe has like one of the biggest penises in the world, to the point that I forget which movie they had like a penis scene in, but they had to use a prosthetic penis because they shot it with his regular penis, and it was just so big it was distracting. They're like, it doesn't add anything to the scene because all you're thinking is, holy shit, Willem Dafoe has a giant cock.
Could you imagine being a costume designer? You get all the regular measurements for the actors, and then like at the bottom is like another measurement that's like 10 inches by 8 inches, and that's brief synopsis and production history of Cats. Now it's time for our opening statement. So from here, I'm going to be telling you all why this movie is actually pretty good.
And I'll be saying why it's awful.
So, my opening statements. This film has been accused of lacking plot and having poor VFX. To those accusers, I say your judgment is the point. The film is really an exploration of characters and focuses on how our own judgments keep us from seeing the good that's out there. The visual and directing style implores you to suspend your disbelief and open your imagination. The fact so many people couldn't is more of a failure on our society than it is on the filmmakers.
My opening statement: Cats is a nightmarish abomination that spits on the legacy of famed poet T.S. Eliot. They took a solid musical and threw it 1 mile down into the depths of the uncanny valley. The CGI is confusingly horny, and its inconsistency gives the viewers the experience of taking too much Benadryl before running through FurryCon. The story barely makes sense, and the overall message is deeply confusing. Fans of both Cats the Animal and Cats the Musical were appropriately appalled by this movie.
Okay, so I guess I'll start with the VFX because I think that was something from the first trailer that dropped. That was something people lambasted, and while it's clear from the story, the production history, the VFX team probably could have used more of the time. I don't think it's their fault of anything, but I do feel like the point of it was to not be realistic, or to be outside of what we conventionally thought, because I mean, even outside of the character design, it's constantly playing around with what's real and and distorting images we're familiar with. I mean, there are plenty of cats that walk around naked. Some that wear clothes. There's of course the part where Rebel Wilson, her character, zips off her what appears to be her fur to reveal a costume underneath. So it's clearly not meant to be realistic in that aspect, and want you to suspend your disbelief more.
That's fair, but I also think there's like way better ways to do that in the sense that, like, when you look at the play, you're like, oh, those are humans acting as cats. And like that you can deal with. It brings you into the fantastical world. But with the movie, it's kind of like if a witch went to a human and was like, I'm going to turn you into a cat. And then halfway through was just like, all right, I gave up. You're just gonna stay like some freakish monster. Like it, you don't send a cat out the door. It's just you turn into they were monsters. They were very creepy looking. They were kind of like abominations. And also they're just like very weirdly horny. Like, why'd all the cats have tits, Belton? Why'd they have tits?
Okay, but that's just a thing with animation as a way to like differentiate male and female, because I mean, if you watch a lot of animated movies with animals, they do that. They do that anyway. I think one example that went around the internet a lot in the series of Lilo and Stitch, when they introduced a female version of Stitch, it's like, yeah, they gave her kind of feminine curves just to differentiate she's a girl. So so that's more of a convention of animation as a medium.
Okay, but I've just got to point out Stitch wasn't an animal. Stitch was an alien.
Okay, non-human character.
Yeah, but like once you're an alien, it's not that like you can have as many tits as you want because you are outside the realm. But we're talking about cats.
Okay, if anything, being an alien should mean you have no tits. Because why would an alien succumb to like human standards of sexual attractiveness?
Because you can't just write off aliens being able to lactate. Like, why don't they could have, if they're gonna make tits, they could have just done like 6 across the belly.
Well, again, well, again, I think the point is like they wanted you to relate to them, and I think because they were using real actors, trying to get cat like proportions would have been very tough, especially when you consider like they all have to dance, and if you're having actors dance in mocaps suits, I think you're gonna get a better product if their character looks like the actors than if they have to dance, and then you have to like distort their dance into a cat body.
Okay, but I kind of see it as you're taking this fantastical world that you're trying to draw the viewer into, correct?
Yeah.
You're trying to get them in. But as soon as you see the VFX, you're immediately out. My immediate reaction once I saw the opening frame of that movie, once you get past the cat being thrown into the garbage, is I was just like, what the fuck are those monsters? I was not like, ooh, what a fantastical world of disbelief that I'm about to immerse myself in. I'm just like, all I can focus on is the cat tits and just how weird everything looks.
It's weird you're focused on cat tits. I don't think any of them were that big. I thought they were just I thought like the female cats were just giving feminine curves.
No, there's some tits.
I feel like we're quickly going to get very sidetracked in that discussion. But I would say, but I would say like that opening scene, they did well to establish essentially we're going to world cast before revealing any of the characters, and like just slowly introducing the elements of like, okay, this isn't gonna be exactly like the real world. You're gonna have to open up, and I feel like this was a movie a lot of people going into it just had their mindset on what this ride was gonna be.
Yeah, it's fair. But I don't know. The opening sequence wasn't bad, but I'm just like all I could focus on was just how weird everybody looked. It's nightmarish seeing something that's supposed to be a cat, but then it just has a face exactly like me and you, where it's got like actual noses and it doesn't have like cat or the split lip or I don't really know.
Well, I mean, no, because I feel like they have to have the human faces because that's how we relate to them. I mean, like on the side with the Lion King remake, a big criticism was that because they were so dedicated to the National Geographic aesthetic, you couldn't tell what read what their emotions are on their face because we naturally just don't read like yeah and lion and baboon emotions that as well as humans.
Yeah, but like in the animated Lion King film, you could read that shit pretty easily.
Well, yeah, because they were made more human-like.
Yeah, but like it's just different. It's like creepy human. It's sitting in that where you look at it and you're just like, I don't understand what's wrong with it. And you're just like, it upsets. It's like, I don't know.
I don't know. I thought it just looked like really interesting cosplay, or like a furry costume.
Yeah, but is that what you want for a $200 million movie? Is a
Oh,
furry
well,
costume?
no, it wasn't. Again, the $200 million. That was a rumor that has since been disproven. The actual budget was under 100 million. So
Oh shit! Really?
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, budget 95 million. So, again, I think this was a case of like in filmmaking. Sometimes you have to allocate resources to different things, and so like they probably the VFX team probably could spent time like building everyone's faces in a way that's like, oh, we get the actors' emotions, and it looks like a cat, but what would that have taken away from? Would they? Would the fur not look as good? Would the tails not move right? It's
Yeah, but they also could have just given them physical costumes and saved a lot of money on VFX and done more practical sets, and everything would have just like vibed a lot better.
see, but then that question becomes then why don't we just watch the play? Because I mean with the sets the virtual sets were built to be like large and expansive, something you couldn't easily put on a stage. So I mean when you're adapting something from a different medium, you can't do everything that works in the original medium because it doesn't always work on film.
I, oh, sorry.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, and I think like the sets and like some of the choreography and editing plays into that.
I don't know. I feel like there wasn't many shots that couldn't be fit on a soundstage.
Th- uh, there were shots like the sequence where the two robber cats are just going through the house. You think that could have been on a soundstage?
Yeah, there was like
Well,
4 rooms.
they had like stairs 100 times their size,
Yeah, that's fair.
and a huge bed.
You could have just made a huge bed.
I mean, the thing is, if you're already using VFX, everything has to fit aesthetically. And that's why like a lot of VFX, like in a lot of movies, their goal isn't solely to to look realistic or like it's a photo. Their goal is to fit a certain aesthetic that supports the rest of the film, and then everything goes into that.
Yeah, but the
Mhm.
aesthetic was just unsettling. It just gave me the heebie-jeebies. That's what it comes down to. It was kind of distracting.
I mean, it's a bold choice. I think that they were just going for something, and I could see it, and like I think a lot of the decisions were made to elevate the performance of the actors.
Okay, I'll give you that it was a bold choice, but like bold choice doesn't mean it worked out well. Like a bold choice could be eating an entire salami for breakfast before you go on a 10-mile run, but that doesn't mean at mile 5 you're not just throwing up in the garbage can before you carry on your way.
I don't appreciate you insulting my pre-workout meals.
I don't know. The other issue I'm having is I don't know how much I actually like Cats the musical in itself. That's sort of like I think a lot of my criticisms for the film could also be applied to parts of the musical.
Okay, well, for the musical aspect, the only major change in like plot structure I could find was that is that the Victoria the White Cat, apparently in the musical she did not have as prominent as a role. Her role really didn't do much singing, just a lot of ballet dancing. Where in the movie, she's essentially the audience surrogate. She's used to introduce the audience to the world of the Jellicle Cats.
Is
Uh,
she thrown into the set in the musical?
I did not find that.
Neither of us have seen the musical.
No, we haven't. Like we're going purely off of like Wikipedia pages and vibes for it. I mean, but going to the movie, I do for that change. I could see how for a film you want an audience surrogate and like essentially someone to guide you through the world, and it was definitely helpful to have like the cats have to introduce themselves to her because. I mean, theater is a medium where to some degree you can just talk directly to the audience. Where in a movie it needs to be much more immersive, and so having her do that was just a very natural way to go through all the characters and world build in here.
Okay, can I ask you just a question? Because I think there's a few parts so in the beginning, you have Rumble Teaser and who's the other one?
What,
Rumble Teaser.
Rumble Teaser is I all right. I took notes on like the characters. Rumble Teaser is not on this list.
Wait, no, the two thief cats.
Oh, the two thief cat. Oh yeah, Rumble Teaser and
Mungo Jerry.
Mungo Jerry. Okay, yeah, I have them under the same bullet point. That's why.
Okay, so they sing before the whole concept of the Jellicle Ball is introduced. Was that their entry into the Jellicle Ball? If all the cats sing and dance during the Jellicle Ball, they didn't do any singing or dancing during the Jellicle Ball.
Because weren't they in on the conspiracy to bring McCavity there? So that's why they were letting like everyone else's singing and dancing be a distraction.
But it also, that's the same thing that happened with oh, my memory's so bad. The indoor cat.
Well, I mean, she was kidnapped before the Jellicle Ball.
Yeah, but would she have sang at the Jellicle Ball?
Yeah, probably if she was there.
Also, can only 2 of the cats do magic?
Yeah, apparently because it's a special skill. That's the talent that makes them work.
Are you born with that, or is that something you practice?
You know, they did not explain those rules to us because again, it's one of those things where I don't feel like movies need to explain every single aspect.
I agree with that, but like I also want, like an anime guide where they go over all the different stats people have. I want that for all the characters and cats. Like give me Mungo Jerry and it's just like attack 10, speed 97,
Like just one of those things where like from Naruto when they bring in a new character, like Kakashi just goes like, oh, you gotta look out for this one. Like they can tap dance and striptease.
Watch out for that one. It lives indoors. It's got an army of cockroaches and mice, and it can zip off all its fur, and it's got clothing under, but it can't take the clothing off. It just has to put back on all the fur. So don't be distracted. It's gonna get you.
Yeah, but so I know this movie definitely isn't heavy on plot, but I also don't feel like it still has a story where it doesn't need to be heavy on plot in the sense that you have plot points A, B, and C happening in 10 minutes. It does take a long time to go from A to B, but we learn more about the characters along the way. Mm.
I guess so, but like what we learn about them doesn't necessarily change anything in the story.
Well, I think it just builds up a lot because really the story is ultimately how they judge Grisabella, played by Jennifer Hudson, in the movie, because the way the story structured, they have it does a classic thing where it's like they have cats to cover the seven deadly sins. We have lust as Rum Tum Tugger, gluttony, Bustopher Jones, greed as the two robbers. Grisabella is envy. Pride, Mr. Mistopheles. Wrath is McCavity, and sloth is Jenny Any Dots. Uh, and so like we're doing that, it's showing like all the cats have flaws, but Grisabella is the only one really being judged for it, and that's why she's the reason that she gets sent up, because she's the only one that kind of redeemed herself for it and felt bad and repented. This is actually a very Catholic movie.
Well, T.S. Eliot was like he was an evangelical Christian when he lived in America. Then he ended up he moved to England, and he converted to Angelicism, but he was a Catholic angelicist essentially. So he practiced a lot of Catholicism, but it was under the angelical, wait, no, I think angelical framework, because everyone in England kind of had to be angelical. I'm mixing up angelical, and it's like really getting in my head. I was like, now am I saying he's a cat Christian?
He just created his whole new religion.
But no, he had a bunch of his poetry was kind of centered around that. Hang on, I'm blanking on. All right, you know what? I'll get back to it. But also, can we go to the costumes and why some cats were clothed and some cats weren't? But if the cat was played by a black actor, they were either dressed as a pimp or a homeless woman.
So, so I feel like the clothing was used to reflect their character more. Again, playing around with the realism of it, because they use like the magician had like the performance of vest and a top hat. Rebel Wilson, her character is of course the one that zipped off her fur, which kind of shows that like she is like a homebody, but she has so much going on underneath and in her own space. And and of course McCavity had his nice big coat and hat, and Grisabella had a coat similar to McCavity's, but run down more because she left him and just hasn't been accepted back. So the clothing really does reflect their characters and their role in the story.
That's fair, but okay, I just want to point out they're all stray cats, but there's just like one homeless woman. Like one of them is dressed like a homeless person, but none of them have homes other than oh my god, sorry, my memory's getting really bad. Who's the Jenny Any Dots?
Jane Any Dots, that is Rebel Wilson's
Yeah.
character.
She's the only one that lives in a home. And then so they're all strays, but just one is like portrayed as the only one that's actually like without a home.
Well, cause she was shunned by the community.
Yeah, well, they're like, she lives in the wasteland. What is the wasteland? I want to know. That's like really interesting stuff.
Uh, I mean, is supposed to like take place in London, so I'm assuming if you ask T.S. Eliot, it's wherever immigrants live in London.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'm, but I mean, like again, that's something where I don't feel like the movie needs to explain every detail because like is there a wasteland like maybe they could have just shown a picture of what it was, but if we're using one character as the audience surrogate, then what's her reason to go there and like maybe there isn't one, but all we know is that like in this like the 2 or 4 blocks where they live, they have a community, they have food, they have a place where they feel safe, and out there they don't, and that's what the movie tells us, and that's all the information we need to know to say like and to feel bad for that character.
Is that about the church? Like, in order to, the wasteland is living outside of the church. And then anybody, even if they're full of sin, but they live within the church and the promise of salvation, then they get to live a reasonable life. And then if Mr. God, I'm really bad with names. Idris Elba's character.
McCavity.
Yeah. McCavity kind of like lives out in the wasteland, but he owns it. Like he's sort of like the sinner who owns the sin. And then Grisabella follows him out there, but she doesn't really own the sin. She kind of got lured out there. So she doesn't live as quite a good life. She left the church and now she's being shunned.
Yeah, yeah. But I think the film also points out again. Grisabella is looking for redemption, and like in a way has repented for her sin. So like, while this could be read as like, oh, she got punished for leaving the church, it could also be again it'd be read as a critique of the church for their judgment of her because like in the end in order to get old Deuteronomy back some of them have to put aside the traits that they hold dear and work together to get her back, and that's when they realize like, oh, we all live with sin. She just essentially got caught for it, and that put her out, and that's when they learn forgiveness.
I get that. But also, didn't Mr. Mistopheles just teleport her back with magic?
Yes, but he had to. But before he was just doing magic for himself. Now he had to do it for everyone else. That's why he struggled.
Oh, really? I thought it was just like he wasn't very good at it and it just took him a few tries. Or she could have just walked through the door. That's the other aspect of it. Everyone was so like psyched about him like trying to do magic, and then she showed up in the direction of the door. She didn't appear like where he was pointing the magic. She just kind of like walked in and everyone was focused on him. And then she's like, I'm here. You did it.
I mean, he did teleport her. He just like miscalculated where she would end up.
Cats is a silly musical.
I mean, it's fun when when you open your eyes to it.
Yeah, but I
Uh,
think they did it a little too I think they should have made it, like, sillier. It should have been, like, some more guffaws, and I feel like any place where they did go for the laugh, it just really didn't hit. I'm
uh,
mainly thinking of James Corden's song. James Corden's song, there are parts where it's supposed to be like, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna get such a big laugh here," and just none of it was all that funny.
I think with his song, I think I think a lot of it was like even tone throughout, where it's like if everything's played as a joke, nothing's a joke. So, if that makes sense.
That's fair. But there are like a few physical comedy moments that I don't know, they didn't work for me.
I will.
Like they got rid of the character and I was like, good riddance. Get rid of him. He sucks. I don't want maybe it's just I don't like James Corden and that's like playing into into my judgment of it.
And see again, that's like bias going into the movie that played into it. Uh, well, also also like I can't believe I didn't mention this at top, but like James Gordon and Rebel Wilson at the Oscars that year made fun of the VFX in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they dressed up in cats costumes. I forget exactly what they said, but but like they just made jokes about it. So like a lot of the VFX community was upset with them.
Yeah, that's actually like a real bitchy kind of fucked up move.
Yeah. Mm,
Where I don't know, like even if in my opinion it was really bad, the VFX, still people put a lot of work into it and then to go to the Oscars and just shit on all those people, pretty dickish
yeah.
move.
I mean the Oscars every so often just like disparages aspects of filmmaking.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so that was our discussion. Now it's time where we acknowledge the other side. I'm gonna give things I thought the film could have done better, and Chris is gonna give three things she liked about it. So I will say the first thing I think it could have been better was like the choreography inside, because I did think it at times it played with the set well, but other times it felt like the choreography was done like for a Broadway stage and not the huge set that they built, which just makes it feel small in comparison.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going off of your prejudice and biases thing. It's not as bad as the critics would make you believe. Like if you can watch it and separate it from the criticism, it's not the worst way to spend 2 hours. It's kind of like Velma, where everyone hated on Velma so much. But the reason Velma was so bad was the fact that they were using Scooby Doo. So if you take Scooby Doo out of Velma, it was like a solid show. It wasn't the best thing you've ever seen, but it wasn't the worst.
Yeah.
So like Cats was definitely one of those where if you I watched it after hearing everything about it and I'm just like, this is awful. And then me and you watched it together and wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. Like I wasn't sitting there for 2 hours just being like, this fucking sucks. I was just like, all right, well, I can kind of see the criticism, but also memory fucking rocks.
Oh yeah, like I mean, I feel like that was one of those like fan castings that worked out. Like if you're gonna get anyone to sing a ballad, might as well be Jennifer Hudson.
Yeah. Well, then I should just go into my second one.
Yeah.
Memory is one of the greatest songs ever created, and Jennifer Hudson did it justice. Mr. Mistopheles is catchy, although I think it runs a little long, and Taylor Swift killed it singing McCavity the Mystery Cat.
Yeah, like it's funny they brought in Taylor Swift for like one scene, but they're like you're gonna sing this song, and she understood the assignment.
Yeah, she came out just like nailing it. The aesthetic, the way she sang it, just everything was perfect.
Yeah, I get and I guess like my next two kind of fall under something I was saying while we were watching the movie is that like it should have been animated because I do think that would have like made all the VFX stuff a lot better because you mentioned like a lot, like they should have done more of the fantasy elements, and like I think that should have extended to the set because it did feel kind of ridiculous at times that like we're seeing all this stuff with the characters, but then every single thing in the set is just something that's very recognizable to the real world, and I think if they had done something where it's like they take the ordinary thing and make it different for it in the background, it could have really added uh, to it.
I think they could have also like thrown in like one human giant who's just like who screams at them to shut up or something. How are you gonna have something about cats without someone yelling outside of their window, being like, "God, shut the fuck up, you cats!"
I mean, they're the humans that throw out Victoria, but we never see their faces.
Nah, she's just in a bag.
Yeah, and then like the final point going off of that, the scaling wasn't consistent. And I like at times like because everything in the background and on set is something we recognize in real life. It's like we're using that to gauge a side of the and cats, and I do feel a lot of it has to do with the fact that humans and cats have such different proportions. It's hard to scale that, but so like as a result, it just wasn't consistent, and like watching it scene, it just bothered me. And like again, if it was animated, that's not a problem you have to worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Point being, stop trying to make everything live action. Make more things animated.
Yeah, I love animated shit. It's like it gets down to like I don't know, if you can't watch it animated, this more goes for something that was already animated, but if you can't watch it animated, you just shouldn't be able to watch it. Like
Oh
just
yeah.
go see the live action play if you want to see live action. All right, and then my last point is if you're a furry, this movie is exactly what you want. This movie like oh my God, it was just made for furries. They're like, it goes beyond like, yeah, furries have the costumes. You could get that in the musical. No, this is like, you're like, oh, what if I actually was a cat? Now you know exactly what you would be like. Kind of a monster, but also you'd have little cat boobies.
Yeah. No, because like the way to the VFX, I feel like for McCavity, they just intentionally made him a good looking cat.
Yeah, he's a sexy cat. I'm not gonna lie. He got the abs going up the side, and he comes out and sings McCavity, the magic cat, just like, ooh, all shiny and shit, wearing no clothes. He's got those like piercing eyes.
Yeah, it's like someone did the VFX on him, and it's like their celebrity hall pass is Idris Elba, but also they like the feel of velvet.
All right, you want a closing statements?
Yes, my closing statement. So Cats, is it a perfect movie? No, but if you go into it with an open mind, you will find many things you like, and maybe you'll just rediscover playing with your imagination again.
Cats is a fucking mess of a movie. The CGI is terrible. The majority of the songs are mediocre, and it costs millions to make. There's so many things that money could have gone to, but instead we got some fever dream about salvation filled with cat boobies, cats dressed as pimps, and a cat which was homeless in a movie about stray cats. All of them are homeless, but only one has the clothes of a homeless person. If you're a furry, it's a great watch, 10 out of 10, but for everyone else, 2 out of 10. You'll watch an hour 45 of garbage just to hear memory.
Yeah, all right, and with that, that is this episode of Film versus Movie. Thank you all for listening. I'm Belton DeLaine-Facey.
Thank you all. I'm Chris Shurr. Have a lovely rest of your day.